Jason Kelce responds to Jason Peters' shot at Eagle fans. Jordan Mailata looking like he's going to play on Sunday night. And would trading for Brian Burns of the Carolina Panthers actually make sense? I'm Thomas Mott. This is the Thomas Mott Show. What's up, guys? Thomas Mott here. Welcome into the Thomas Mott Show on a Thursday. There is a lot to go ahead and get into, starting with, of course, the beef between Jason Peters and Eagle fans. I know you guys saw this yesterday. It wouldn't be Cowboys Hate Week without a former Eagle who's now a Cowboy taking a shot at Eagle fans, or at least that's how the media is portraying it. We're going to dive into that here, starting off on the Thomas Mott Show. Get into a Jordan Mailata injury update. We'll talk about Dak's injury as well. There's an update from yesterday in terms of his throwing hand. And finally, finish with our National League story of the day, Carson Wentz. He might get benched tonight in the Thursday night matchup featuring his Washington Commanders. It's been a rough year so far for Carson Wentz. Let's start, though, with the big drama of the day, and this even got kicked off this morning on 94.1 WIP's morning show. There's this whole, I guess you'd say, quote from Jason Peters, who, if you didn't realize, is the starting left tackle of the Dallas Cowboys. And I know he's like 70 years old, and it's crazy he's still playing. But yes, he did sign with the Dallas Cowboys after they had an injury to their starting left tackle. He's played well, I guess. He's not Jason Peters in terms of what he was in Philadelphia, but he seemingly took a shot at Eagle fans, which was kind of a surprise because we view him as the bodyguard. And Jason Kelce, who was on the morning show this morning in Philadelphia, went ahead and responded. So let's dive into this. Let's first start with what Jason Peters had to say, who, as you see on the article right now at 94.1WIP.com, he's 40, he's not 75. He's still ancient for a left tackle in the National Football League, 18-year veteran right now, and he took a little, do we call it a shot? I don't know. I'll let you decide. Quote, I just know that the Philly fans are effing idiots when it comes to camaraderie. The Cowboys, any team really. They know that. They pride themselves on being nasty, vulgar. They're going to cuss at you. Philly fans are the wildest fans out there to me. And this kind of was posted first by Michael Gelkin, they say his name. You see it there on Twitter. And he goes on to kind of talk about how essentially, Jason Peters still has love for Philadelphia, which we'll see here in just a second. But that was the main quote right there. That is what you're seeing flashed in all the the blog websites and Twitter right now. Jason Peters calls Eagle fans effing idiots. The question I had when reading this is, what was his tone? Was he like, guys, Eagle fans are effing idiots, they're the worst? Did he have that kind of tone? Or was he like, man, Eagle fans, dude, they're effing idiots. Like, they are crazy. They're going to cuss at you. What way was he saying it? I think that, as you'll see, it was the latter and not the beginning. And credit to Jason Kelce, who was on the 94.1 WIP morning show this morning, and he really set things straight and had a chance to throw Peters under the bus and did. And I like what the savvy veteran center, best center in the league in a lot of people's eyes, said about Kelce. Here it is, quote, Angelo, I know Jason Peters very well. It was in complimentary fashion. He's a huge fan of the Philadelphia fan base. I know that for a fact. I'm not falling for this get all revved up at my former teammate you're trying to throw at me right now. And that is honestly the proper way to go ahead and respond to that thing. Do we really expect to think that Jason Peters hates Philadelphia? Now, Jason Peters is a Cowboy right now, and the Cowboys are trying to win on Sunday to give the Eagles their first loss and essentially take over the lead in the NFC East. And so naturally, Jason Peters is against Philadelphia this weekend. But to think that Jason Peters, who played almost his entire career in Philadelphia, the vast majority of his career in Philadelphia, to think essentially that he now hates the Eagles and thinks the fan base is the worst, and yet he stayed here for so long, is absolutely ridiculous. And I think that as you go down this list, this tweet from Michael Gelkin, it shows exactly what Peters was really talking about. I'll throw it up on your screen here. Quote, Jason called Eagles games just another game for me, but Philadelphia is not just another city. I got my first Super Bowl there. I laid a lot of bricks there. Philly, that's my city. Just to go back, it'll be great to beat them. You see, so this is what, again, and I try and do this all the time, the media will try to do going into a big game like Eagles-Cowboys. They're going to take the first quote, the first little section of what Jason Peters had to say and be like, oh man, Jason Peters calls Philadelphia Eagle fans effing idiots. And you go, oh my gosh, did he really? I can't believe that. And then you have to go, okay, wait a second. What did he mean? What was the tone? Where's he coming from? And I think Jason Peters did a fantastic job of kind of quelling that and throwing some water on that and not adding fuel to the fire as if there was a need for any more going into this absolutely massive matchup. Okay, we're going to get into the injury update here in just 1 second. First, though, I had a fantastic interview on the show yesterday that is up on the show's channel page with RJ Ochoa. He's like the managing editor of bloggingtheboys.com, one of the biggest Dallas Cowboy essentially blog sites in the entire world. It's absolutely massive, and we kind of went back and forth for 30 minutes on this matchup. I'll link it down below in the description box, but you guys should definitely check out that interview if you've missed it. It's a really good preview for Eagles and Cowboys. Kind of an interview interview the enemy, if you will, in terms of interviewing a Cowboy beat writer. Okay, over here to the injury update from Bleeding Green Nation. This comes late last night, and I think this is some good stuff overall regarding Jordan Mailata's chances for playing on Sunday. It seems like he's going to, right? It seems like he's going to be able to, although he was limited, and so we're not exactly 100% sure. Here's where we're at, right? Here's your official injury report. So Dickerson limited with the ankle. I think we're going to find out at the end of the season that Dickerson was playing through something way worse than he actually is being reported. Limited, he's going to be, essentially means he's going to play. Will he play the entire game? That's a question mark there. Jake Elliott also limited with that right ankle. It's going to be interesting to see if they would rather go with a 100% healthy Cameron Dicker, who's still on the roster, by the way, or is Jake 85%, 90% healthy? Which would you rather have? Because Dicker was really good in his first game. Now, doesn't mean he's going to be good for the rest of the games. There's a reason why he wasn't a starter in the National Football League going into last week. But keep an eye on Jake Elliott. I think it's going to really depend on how close is he to 100% if he plays. Gainwell's had this nagging rib injury. He should be fine and out there. Patrick Johnson still in concussion protocol, although limited, meaning he's probably going to play. Kelce still dealing with that ankle. That offensive line is not 100%. Maddox in the ankle as well. I think Maddox is going to go for sure. I feel confident in that. Then you have Sayamalu and that shoulder issue. It seems like, based on what I was reading, that he's probably going to go on Sunday. Is that the shoulder is basically healed. There's a little bit of question in terms of moving your hands because you got to be you get pushed back and that shoulder kind of bends back here. That's going to be the big overall question mark. I expect Mailata to go ahead and give this one a go, and it is crucial that he does go. Now, can Driscoll fill in and be just fine? Yes. But you're going up against the number one pass rush win rate defense in the entire National Football League. I mean, Dallas gets to the quarterback almost as good as anybody in the National Football League. They sit at 20 sacks. And so I think Mailata understands that. Obviously, I think he's probably going to go ahead and play. That is great news for Philadelphia. Everybody who was limited most likely will go. The question will be, will they play all 4 quarters? I think they will. This is a very good update for Philadelphia. Now, when you go to Dallas here, at least from a Wednesday evening update here on a Thursday morning, here's where we're at with some of the injuries. Dak Prescott did not participate with that right thumb, and Micah Parsons did not participate with that groin injury. Now, Dak did throw yesterday, but he didn't participate in practice. I mean, he didn't actually take snaps in like 11-on-11s or walkthroughs. He was off to the side, still rehabbing that thumb. And we talked about this with RJ Ochoa yesterday on the show, and he's very plugged into what's going on with Dak Prescott. He thinks it's a long shot for Dak to play on Sunday. He's expecting Cooper Rush to go. And I think the fact that Dak was a DNP yesterday and not a limited participant is a good indication of that. Now, it's only Thursday, and maybe you watch this, on a Thursday, listen to this on a Thursday afternoon, and there's an update that I missed because we filmed this early on a Thursday morning, but I would bet that Dak is not going to go. Now, Micah did miss with a groin, but he will go. I would be shocked if Micah did not. RJ Ochoa spoke to that again on the show yesterday. You got to watch that. It's very, very good. He thinks Micah will go, but he's not going to be 100%, which is probably good news for Philadelphia. If Mailata's not 100% and Parsons is not 100%, maybe a little bit more fair of a match up there. Okay, we're going to get to our Carson Wentz National League story of the day here in just 1 second. First, though, if you guys are still watching the video, thumbs up. I appreciate that here as that makes the show grow way faster than you realize. And then, of course, subscribe to the Thomas Mott Show. Plenty more content, including tomorrow. It's Friday, meaning the hottest Eagle takes. I'll react to them from the national media coming up on tomorrow's show. Quickly, just kind of want to glance over this. This has been well documented by a lot of blog sites and a lot of Twitter people. The Brian Burns pass rush trade that potentially Philadelphia could do. You saw some, major networks or major outlets, I should say, like ESPN, a possible trade for Brian Burns. You see the write-up here on Bleeding Green Nation. There's this idea that Carolina is going to be in full purge mode. Talked about that, obviously, with Christian McCaffrey. But would it make sense to trade for Burns? I'm not so sure. Here's the whole, Philly Voice article talking about it. Quote, Brian Burns, edge. The Eagles have good edge rushers in Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, but their depth took a hit when they lost Derek Barnett for the season. They can add some juice to their pass rush. The defense will just be that more dangerous. Addition of a player like Burns would be an all-in type of move and would come with a very high cost, but holy crap, the Eagles' pass rush would be very scary. Burns is only in his 4th season. He has 29.5 career sacks, 4 sacks in 5 games this season. He is fast, explosive, long, and lean edge rusher. Now, here's the deal with Burns. Would he be a good addition? Yes, but it's the same thing with Christian McCaffrey. Are you renting him for 1 year? If you are, I understand the fact that you are all in, but you have to understand Philadelphia can't just be all in for this year. You're in a Super Bowl window, and a window right now looks like it's at least 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 years. And the question really is, can you extend Brian Burns past this season? I don't think so. I think if you were to go for a fifth-year option, the money is absolutely ridiculous. It's like $16 million. If you could get Burns and then restructure for a cheap price, I would do it. But I don't think the Eagle pass rush is that devoid of pass rushers to where you need to go out and make a move like this for just 1 year, right? I mean, Hassan Reddick has been fantastic, and Burns essentially would play the Hassan Reddick role. And so you're swapping Reddick and Burns. Could you play them both at the same time? Sure. I just don't see this being a need right now for Philadelphia. I think if they were to go ahead and make a move, it'd be for a running back. Maybe not Christian McCaffrey, but maybe another running back to bolster the group behind Jalen Hurts. And so, again, much like a lot of these trades that are talked about all over the place, would it make Philadelphia better? Yes. Is it likely and logical from a cap and draft compensation and money standpoint? No. I'm probably not expecting Brian Burns to be a Philadelphia Eagle. All right, as we always do here in the Thomas Mott Show, we wrap up with our National League story of the day. I figure we'll talk about Carson Wentz and the Commanders right now quickly, because if you've watched any Carson Wentz games this year, it's infuriating. Like, you almost feel bad for the Washington Commander fan base. Now, we don't, because we're Eagle fans, right? We don't actually care. We hope the Washington Commanders stink. But watching Carson Wentz go from hero to zero every single game is absolutely fascinating, and it's crazy. And tonight, when they play the Bears, which aren't a terrible defense, but not a good one, I very much could see Carson Wentz going ahead and getting, benched today for Taylor Heineke. That Jags win, they should have lost that game. Jacksonville had a fourth quarter lead, and really Carson Wentz led them all back with some Carson Wentz type heroics. But since then, Lions game was terrible. You watch what happened in the Philadelphia game, 9 sacks. They did nothing offensively against Dallas, and another late fourth quarter drive against Tennessee to win the football game. He throws a pick at the goal line. I mean, this guy continues to make mistake after mistake after mistake, and this goes back to the whole idea that Philadelphia, one, getting rid of Carson Wentz. They saw the writing on the wall. Good for them. And two, Washington is a perennial terrible franchise. There's that new article out about Dan Snyder right now having, blackmail essentially on all the other NFL owners, or some of the NFL owners, and trying to keep his spot as an owner in the Washington Commanders. And there's an interesting point in that article where he talks about, if I can just get a franchise quarterback, all of my, off the field stuff, all the Dan Snyder issues would just go away. He mentions that. And he got Carson Wentz, right? You talk about getting a great quarterback. It's amazing how some people convince themselves that they can be the team, they can be the coach, they can be the system that revitalizes someone's career. And this happens to every single NFL team. Every NFL team at some point over the past couple of seasons has brought somebody in as a project, as a rebuild, as a chance to revitalize them, and very rarely does it work. You make the argument that Philadelphia brought in Josh Sweat to kind of revitalize his career. Now, Josh Sweat was a draft pick, but Josh Sweat was supposed to be one of the top draft picks in the National Football League until he blew out his ACL, and many people wrote him off as he was never going to be a good pass rusher. Philadelphia takes a chance, he comes in, and it works well. Now, it's different than Carson Wentz, but you see how NFL teams try and do this. The same would go for, the Raiders with Antonio Brown. You made the case the Tampa Bay Bucks with Antonio Brown. Teams trying to essentially figure out and rebuild somebody and prove to the team that let go of him that they made the wrong move. Washington tried to do that. It didn't work. I really think that these numbers from Carson Wentz, they continue to be atrocious. The completion percentage is all over the place, 58, 59, 65, multiple interceptions. He's up to 5 so far this year. This is a disaster game on Thursday night, coming off a short week and a disappointing loss. If Wentz does not play well, and this is like they're not scoring or he throws picks, especially early on in this game, do not be surprised if Taylor Heineke is brought in, just because he's a little more stable than Carson Wentz, because Carson Wentz watching him is a roller coaster. And you can tie this back in with the Eagles. This is how it was, man. I mean, besides the 2017 season, watching Carson Wentz was one of the most frustrating things I've ever done as an Eagle fan, because you saw the talent. You knew it was there, right? The frame, the arm strength, the decision-making at times was really good. Mobility, he was strong. He was like Big Ben on steroids. I mean, honestly, he was a slim Big Ben who could actually move with the way he shedded, pass rushers and ducked underneath people and threw the ball down the field. And that was all shown in 2017. And then you move on, and the development was never there. He started seeing ghosts. He started double clutching. He started throwing, interceptions, missing open receivers, holding on to the football too long, getting strip sacked. The guy fumbles every time you even blow on him. It's ridiculous. And so Philadelphia obviously made the right move so far, at least with Jalen Hurts, but it's going to be very fascinating to see if he can even survive this season with the Washington Commanders and where he goes from there, because he's on his third team right now, and each team has done everything they could to make him successful. Philly, Indy, and now Washington. You could see him being a backup the rest of his career, being a backup for a while. after this year, especially if you were to lose the starting job. So keep an eye on that. Obviously, go Bears, but that Bears offense is terrible. I would still take Washington to win this game. They should win this game. If they don't, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Okay, plenty more stuff coming up on the Thomas Mott Show. As always mentioned, we just started this new segment. Every Friday, I go through the hottest sports takes, or the hottest Philadelphia sports takes. And normally from the national media, Get Up, First Things First, Colin Cowherd, blah, blah, blah. We go through those. We play them for you. We react to them. That's the special edition of the show on Friday. We'll do that tomorrow. Got some really good ones. And then we will obviously preview the game on Saturday. And I think we're going to do a live show going into the game on Sunday. So stay tuned for that, as a lot of great stuff is coming up here. If you appreciate the channel, if you've watched the show and you listen to the show to or from work, whatever it is, thumbs up. Always leave a thumbs up. That is huge for YouTube. And subscribe, as we'll see you guys in the next one. I'm Thomas Mott. This has been the Thomas Mott Show.